Hello, good evening. It is great to be back with you tonight. I'm Blake Burman. This is The Hill on News Nation. The art of the deal across the pond. After striking a trade deal with the EU, the president meeting with the leader of the UK. A Friday deadline, he says, for trade deal or bust.
We're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business in the United States. Because you can't sit down and make 200 deals. I would say in the range of 15 to 20%.
But while leaders come calling, the president not able to shake two other figures, Putin and Epstein. We'll get into it. Plus, are rebate checks coming from all those tariffs? What should the government do with the new billions? We'll show you just how much money is at stake. Also tonight, a brawl on the streets of one of America's biggest cities. This is the video right now that's gone viral. The response coming from all over, what the vice president said today about the violence and arrests when he was asked about all of that. And taunting Tinseltown or remaking of Hollywood. What the president is now saying about some of the biggest stars in the entertainment industry, plus a new push to swap out the name Kennedy for Trump. But first tonight here from The Hill, deal done with the European Union, with more tariffs on the way. The White House today releasing details of that agreement that was touted by the president, who is describing it as a big win, a trade deal between the United States and the EU. Here's part of it. This is just the top line. Tariff rates for most EU imports set at 15%. The EU will also buy some $750 billion in U.S. energy and invest $600 billion into the U.S. by 2028. Now, the White House says it will lead to, as they put it, unprecedented levels of market access to the 27 nations that make up the EU. We're talking, of course, about countries like Germany, France, Italy, Spain, just to name a handful. But as all of that was going on, and think about it, the president has been trying to push for this for quite some time. As all of that was going on, another issue just kept popping up when the president took questions before reporters abroad. That is where we begin tonight with our Kelly Meyer, live for us once again over at the White House. Kelly?
Yeah, hey there, Blake. The story the president just can't shake here in Washington, following him overseas to Scotland today. But the president went into more detail, perhaps, than ever before about what broke their former friendship and why he isn't ruling out a pardon for Epstein's ex-accomplice. Take a listen to this.
Is that something you would ever consider, and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. It's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk about it.
Now, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison back in 2022 and is a convicted sex trafficker. President Trump also said he never, quote, had the privilege of traveling to Epstein's island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, also known as Pedophile Island to the locals there. President Trump did say he did turn it down, an invitation there. And back home, Vice President J.D. Vance, who had in the past called for transparency around Epstein, said Trump has nothing to hide. Vance says Trump is calling to release all credible information and that, quote, some of that stuff takes time. Blake.
Our Kelly Meyer, live tonight on the North Lawn. Kelly, thank you. So as the administration grapples with that case, both abroad and back at home, Ghislaine Maxwell is now asking the United States Supreme Court and the president to intervene in her criminal case. Jesse Weber, News Nation contributor, host at the Law and Crime Network, joins me live. Jesse, hello. Thanks for being with us tonight. The representation for Maxwell, they're going to the high court. What's the strategy here for them?
Right. So this has nothing to do with the Epstein files or the DOJ, the FBI announcement. Her argument is that the non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein signed back in 2008 with Florida federal prosecutors covers her, because there was a provision that said if Epstein did everything he was supposed to do as part of this agreement, that his co-conspirators would not be charged. Now, that argument has been rejected by every single court that has heard it. The DOJ opposes this. They don't believe the Supreme Court could hear it. They say there is no way federal prosecutors had the authority authority to bind other prosecutors, to bind New York prosecutors to this agreement. She was never mentioned in this agreement. Will the Supreme Court take up this argument? Maybe. It's an important criminal issue. They rejected hearing a similar case a few years back. But I also believe this was not just an appeal to the Supreme Court, but an appeal to Donald Trump. If the idea is we want some leniency, we're giving you an out. You're the art of the deal. He signed a deal. This is a deal. President Trump, she deserves some leniency based on that.
You think the court takes this up, though?
Difficult to say. Again, I think they've rejected a similar kind of case a few years back, but this is very high profile. This is not the first time we've dealt with a non-prosecution agreement and how it applies to others. So they may ultimately hear it. We'll get a decision about whether they'll hear it in September, and then we'll move on to arguments if they actually do decide to hear it.
All right, we'll leave it there. Jesse Weber, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, joining me now, the Republican congressman from the state of Georgia, Rich McCormick. He is a member of the Armed Services Committee, Foreign Affairs Committee as well. Congressman, nice to see you. Thanks for being with us. So I want to take a step back because here's what I think the reality is for the president, the leader of your party, the leader of the country. You can tell me if you disagree. He was just abroad. He is abroad. And he was celebrating this big trade deal with the European Union, a win as he sees it. But he still can't shake this Epstein story, one. He also can't shake Vladimir Putin and figure out how to get to an end there. So let's go one by one here, Congressman. And again, thanks for being with us. You're a conservative. It seems like these tariffs are here to stay. Are you good with that?
We'll see. I don't think anything's here to stay. The president showed immense amount of discretion when it comes to what he brings in and what he takes out. He's always reacted to the market. I remember I used to marvel at how he would manipulate the market with just a tweet. He would either speed up the economy or slow down the economy because he understands that his legacy will be the economy. The economy is the driving force.
But it does feel like they are here to stay, right? I mean, the baseline, you heard it off the top there. He's talking about 15 to 20%.
Well, I think we've had tariffs on our goods and trade impositions on our goods for a long time. I think he's balancing it out. He's using it as a way to bring in income to get deficit spending back in order. I think it could be a very beneficial thing to us, especially when you consider the negotiations of hundreds of billions of dollars being invested in America and its companies. Not just from Europe, but from all over the world. I think that's going to be a good thing. Whether it increases inflation over time, not so far, but that's yet to be seen. I think he will adjust on the fly. You
know, I mentioned you're on the Armed Services Committee, and it strikes me, Congressman, that many of these world leaders are coming to the president. They're trying to strike deals or a deal on trade. The one world leader, though, that he seemingly cannot get to the finish line on the conversation is Vladimir Putin. Here was the president today, and then I want to get your reaction on the other side.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Here was Dmitry Medvedev. Quote of the president: he should remember two things. Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. Each new ultimatum, number two, is a threat and a step toward war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road. Are they just taunting the president at this point in time, Congressman?
I think Putin's in a very bad position. I think they're increased to about 9% of their GDP for defense production. They're being strangled in oil sales. I think the United States could put a lot of pressure on India and other countries not to consume any oil from Russia. We could outperform them in energy production. We could make it very difficult on their economy. Meanwhile, we could supply Ukraine with more weaponry that would really be devastating to the Russian army. I don't think Putin's in a strong position at all. And I think the stronger that President Trump stares this down, the worse it's going to be for Putin, not for us. Remember, we have a $27 trillion GDP. Europe has a $20 trillion GDP. Russia has a $2 trillion GDP. We could do real damage to them if we wanted to.
Okay, so all of this with the backdrop, right? The president just keeps getting asked about Epstein. And you know this, he believes that he can go before the camera, take any question, talk, change the narrative, shape it to how he likes. He's abroad today, and it's Epstein after Epstein. What do you want to hear from the president, Congressman, on this issue?
Well, I think there will be, over time, more and more transparency. But I don't see this as really something people are going to vote on a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years from now. I think it's something that will come out as the court cases continue on. Remember that a lot of this information cannot be released until it's heard in court. Remember, it's almost like tampering. If you're going to release information before you have a jury in place, before things have been solidified. Now, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a doctor, but I do know that certain information is probably pretty guarded right now until this court cases are settled. But I don't have all the information. A lot of stuff is being leaked from time to time, but I don't think there's any there. I don't think there's anything that's a gotcha with Trump, or it would have been released by now. He
is a doctor, not an attorney, also a congressman, Rich McCormick, Republican from the state of Georgia, with us tonight. Talk again soon. Thank you, sir.
Semper Fi.
All right, turning it over now. Mick Mulvaney, former Trump White House Chief of Staff, News Nation contributor, joins us live. So too does Chris Cillizza, News Nation contributor. Gentlemen, hello. Happy Monday.
Hello, friend.
I wonder, hello, Mick, I'll start with you. What moves the needle now for Trump? Because I just laid out some of it, right? Like, he's overseas, he's striking these trade deals. He still hasn't figured out Vladimir Putin, which you told me is the one thing you think hasn't gone to plan for him. Epstein's being brought up all over the place. That's just some of it. What moves the needle for him here?
Well, I think they can walk and chew gum at the same time. In fact, they're going to have to, regardless of what happens with trade, regardless of what happens with Russia, they're going to have to deal with Epstein. They just are. Why? Keep in mind, this is now a bipartisan thing in Washington, D.C. How often do we say that? Hardly ever. The reason that Congress is not there this week, and wasn't there last week, is because both Republicans and Democrats signed off on that, what is only be described as a treasonous sort of discharge petition. If you go against your own leadership, that's what you do when you sign a discharge petition. So a bunch of Republicans made the calculated sort of decision. It's better for me politically to be for transparency on Epstein than it is to do what the president says. That's a groundswell change in the MAGA movement. So I don't think Trump is going to get away from it. He should go ahead and just do the transparency. He said he was going to do when he ran, and then deal with the other things as well. But I don't think it's anything that's going to make it go away.
What moves the needle for him here?
I'm with the congressman, Mulvaney, not McCormick. Yeah.
Okay.
He's still a congressman to me.
Yeah.
I think that the problem here is there's no good answer. The White House hasn't had a good answer yet on Epstein. Like, in my opinion, I don't know. He'll probably never do this.
You see,
go ahead.
Sorry, no,
That's okay.
I jumped in. Finish.
What he should have done from the start is say, we were friends. We ran in the same social circles. I never saw anything like this. Had I would have condemned it. We have not talked in a very, I'm talking about this happening in 2019 when he gets arrested. We haven't talked in a very long time, but obviously I condemn every bit of it. Instead, it's this drips and drabs of the media where it's like, here's a picture of him, of Epstein at Marlo Maples and Donald Trump's wedding. Like, it doesn't prove anything in terms of criminality by Donald Trump, but it keeps the story going.
I guess one of the issues for the president is, if I would have told him or you or anyone that we were sitting here talking at the end of July about a trade, he goes abroad and announces a massive trade deal with the EU, and there's all these other things that we're talking about, you would have said, what?
Yeah, but in some ways, like, it's your job as a politician to skate to, this is the Gretzky, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where it's going to be. Like, that's kind of your job, is to see this stuff. And I will give Donald Trump credit, and have many times over, whether you like him or you hate him. He's very good at understanding where the media puck is going to wind up. They've abandoned a little. The idea that they were going to put a page-and-a-half memo out, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, that after years of stoking this, like, actually, there's nothing to see here. Everybody move on. It's not going to happen.
Mulvaney, last word.
Look, they get a deal. Just tear the Band-Aid off. Go ahead and say, and just publish it and say, look, here it is. Y'all make up your minds. That's the only thing that's going to allow anybody to move on.
Catch both of you later in the show. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Still much more ahead tonight. Here on the Hill, a brawl in Cincinnati. Violent, out of hand. The vice president in that state today of Ohio. What'd he say? We'll show you. Plus, the president, is he trying to move Hollywood to the right? Now calling for some of the biggest names in entertainment to be arrested. And later,
We have so much money coming in, we're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt.
so back to that story on tariffs and the trade deals. The money's coming in. I'm going to show you just how much. And then the question is, what do you do with it? Are rebate checks coming to your bank account? I thank you for letting me into your home tonight. It is great to be back. I'm Blake Burman. See you on the other side of the break in 4 minutes. Hard to watch. Shocking video there. Brawl downtown Cincinnati. It's gone viral. Police now say 5 suspects under arrest in the weekend fight that left 2 people seriously hurt. Videos appear to show a man beaten and stomping on a woman. That woman being punched, knocked unconscious. Vice President J.D. Vance was in the state of Ohio today, completely separate issue, while trying to sell the president's one big beautiful bill, and he was asked about that incident. Obviously, bad video there. The vice president basically said he didn't know the full context of it. And of course, that anybody involved should be arrested. But he also went on to say, if you're going into America's biggest cities, you should feel safe. You should be able to go in and have a nice time. Joining me now, Chris Sununu, former governor of the great state of New Hampshire. Lindsey Granger is a News Nation contributor. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Hello. Governor, I want to start with you because this is now the story in Ohio. Yep. It's gone viral nationwide as well. Obviously, the temperature is high there. How should they be handling this there right now?
Well, unfortunately, they're going to make politics out of it, right? Because Ohio is a bit of a political hotbed right now. You have a governor's race, you have other races coming up. I don't like that myself because this could happen in any city, anywhere. I think it's more of a cultural problem that America is facing than anything else. You have a generational problem, kind of post-2020, where the goalposts of what is appropriate behavior have moved. Because I find the acts themselves are disgraceful, disgusting, but the fact that people want to video it, everyone wants to pull their phone out, and if you listen to the commentary, if you will, of the gentleman filming it, it's disgusting. He's cheering it on. It's like, where have we gone as a society when this is what's getting the clicks and the likes?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a local news story. It's obviously unfortunate and terrible, but Vance is jumping in it because Republicans do really well with that law and order tagline. And so if there are a lot of issues that people can complain about and a laundry list of things that people are saying Trump and his team are not doing well, to point to local government officials that are Democratic and have midterms coming up and say you're dropping the ball on your job, that's ultimately what he's saying to leadership there.
To be fair, the vice president opened it up for questions to local media. He was asked, and he did answer. So
right, he didn't come there with that point. Right, that wasn't his intention.
So he did go there to sell the one big beautiful bill. I find it interesting. Normally, like, you pass signature legislation, you get out on the road, and the president will say, this is my thing, this is why it's so amazing, and this is why it's awesome for you. We haven't seen that from President Trump. Here was J.D. Vance on that matter today.
For you in very concrete terms. Number one, we're going to see take-home pay go up in the United States of America. In this district, probably $7,000, $8,000 per family over the next 3 to 4 years. We're going to see your taxes cut. If that big, beautiful bill hadn't passed, you all would have gotten a tax increase to the tune of thousands of dollars to each and every single one of you.
You're shaking your head. Why?
Look, I like J.D. Vance a lot. He's doing exactly what you should not do as a politician. Get up there and say, your pay is going to go up $7,000 in the next few years. Because if it doesn't, you're in real trouble, and now that's pinned completely on you. There's going to be huge benefits from this bill. You don't go out on a limb and say things that maybe or maybe not be true, but everyone can then go.
So what do you think his motive here is? It to sell the bill or to position?
Well, his motive is that he's got a much bigger political future than even President Trump, right? I mean, he's thinking about 28. He's thinking about running, and he wants to help that Republican ticket specifically in Ohio. Tout some of the. We've heard all the negatives of the bill, right, and the Medicaid stuff and all of that. Now they want to tout a lot of the positives.
It is polling underwater politically.
That's right.
Well.
So he's trying to get that back. It's the right thing to do. I just don't really love what he said.
All right.
I think we got a sneak peek of the Vance midterm mission. This is what he's going to do. I think that he's going to be the face of it because President Trump understands that he doesn't need to have the same appetite he did when he was campaigning again. And so Vance is going to take that charge, and everyone knows that he's lining himself up to be possibly the next president. And so on top of that, by being on the front of all these issues, he has to carry why this happened. If he becomes president in a couple of years, he has to explain that big, beautiful bill if it lands or doesn't with the American people. And just real quick, a poll by Fox said 58% of Americans do not like this big, beautiful bill.
It's underwater.
He needs to make sure that he gets that message.
Which is why I bring up the point. I'm sort of surprised that President Trump hasn't done it himself. Maybe we'll see that down the
He's a
line.
little busy. He's a little busy.
He doesn't want them to ask
Can't
about
be the excuse,
Epstein.
though. I'm a little busy. You got to go out and sell the thing. All right, I'll see you both later in the show. Governor Lindsay, thank you. Still much more ahead tonight here on the Hill. From the Walk of Fame to the Hollywood sign, is the president changing the entertainment landscape? We are live from Tinseltown coming up. And in this town, part of the Kennedy Center named for the First Lady. And now, why some Republicans say, you know what, it should be out with Kennedy, in with Trump. And later, show us the money. Billions of dollars will be coming due to the president's tariffs. Whether you like the tariffs or not, the money is here and it is starting to stack up. Is it going to go into your bank account? When the Hill returns. Welcome back here to the Hill on News Nation. Out to Hollywood Hills now. You know, Hollywood has always been known to have a liberal slant, to put it mildly, when it comes to politics. But under a president whose last job before becoming commander-in-chief was host of a TV reality show, many see a possible shift coming to the movie-making industry. And he has been taking aim at megastars in the recent days. Oprah and Beyonce, just to name a couple. Even calling for their prosecution. Our Nancy Liu, live out in Southern California with the latest. Nancy?
Well, Blake, here in California, Democrats still outnumber Republicans by nearly 2-1. And many Hollywood celebrities, they are known to lean left. And that held true in the last election when President Trump cruised to victory over Kamala Harris.
Philadelphia, welcome the next president of these United States, Kamala Harris!
And right before Election Day, Oprah stumped for Kamala Harris in Philadelphia. Before that, a major rally in Houston featuring Beyonce. Federal election data shows the Harris campaign paid over $165,000 to Beyonce's production company for that rally, and Oprah's company, Harpo, received $1 million. President Trump contends those fees amount to illegal payments for endorsements. Well, so far, no indications of any celebrity criminal charges in the works. Meantime, President Trump aims to flip the script on Hollywood by naming Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Jon Voight as his special ambassadors. The outspoken Trump supporters are tasked with revitalizing the industry and bringing back the golden age of Hollywood, which is still reeling from the pandemic and labor strikes. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom recently expanded California's tax credit program to $750 million, and that is to lure productions back here to Hollywood. Blake?
The president also threatening tariffs to try to keep production stateside as well. Our Nancy Liu live for us in Southern California tonight. Nancy, thank you. Full panel here hanging with me for the next half hour or so. Chris Sununu, former governor of New Hampshire. Lindsey Granger, News Nation contributor. Carla Sands, former U.S. ambassador to Denmark and Greenland in the first Trump administration. And Chris Cillizza, News Nation contributor. Mick Mulvaney hanging out with us virtually as well, News Nation contributor. Hello, Mick. All right, let me start on this side here. What's Trump doing here, Carla? Because he's going after Beyonce and Oprah. He was in the middle of the Paramount and Skydance merger as well. There's now a lawmaker here in Washington who wants to rename the Kennedy Center after Trump. What's going on?
Well, I think that the country is going back to something of the center. It's swung so far to the left. I think now business is looking at this and saying, what have we done? And they're coming back to the center. And I think President Trump has a point in some of these issues that he's raising.
No.
Look, I think it's a little silly. I think he's throwing gasoline on the fire. He watched what, Hunter Biden tried to take down George Clooney and all this. I mean, none of these endorsements and none of this stuff really matters in the case of elections or anything. But I think if anything, he's just trying to stoke the fires. I mean, I think he needs a bigger bench than Stallone, Voight, if Jon Voight's upset at anything, it should be his acting in the movie Anaconda. Just a disaster. Wow. But you need a bigger bench than that.
Jon Voight attacks. Didn't see that coming.
He's a good guy.
What's going on here?
Well, I mean, I think the governor's right. Like, at some level, it's like, what's the easiest way to try to get the Republican base back aligned? Talk about how liberal Hollywood is. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Hollywood is really liberal.
Yep.
But, like, you know, I don't think Beyonce got $11 million to endorse Kamala Harris.
And also,
you know what I mean? So, like,
$165K to the
right, $165,000 to the production company.
Right.
And we can debate whether that's right or wrong, but it's not $11 million. I mean, I think this is, you know, he is at some level. Look, it's changed the Washington Commander's name. You know, Brennan and Comey are being investigated. I mean, he's tried a bunch of things to stop saying those, you know, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I don't think you should.
That's what this is about.
What is it about?
I think it's about reasserting American greatness and coming back to the middle. Hollywood is not doing well because it's gone so far to the left. A lot of Americans have just stopped going to the movies and they don't pay any attention to Hollywood. They've lost the narrative.
Well, I think he has to show evidence and then people can show outrage. Like just claiming randomly that Beyonce took $11 million.
But she did.
No, she took 100,000. Yeah. And also that always happens. There's campaign finance rules that protect from things like this. So we know exactly where that money went. And when you looked at Oprah's production as somebody that owns a production company, that thing costs a lot of money, right? So there was no way to put that together. And Oprah said plainly to the camera, yeah, I paid my entire staff to do that. You're right. But I didn't take a dime. And so when you break it down like that, Trump is just finding random targets to come after when they say things that he doesn't like. And also, I also think the pendulum did swing a lot. And I think that when we canceled Dr. Seuss, that's too much. And when we're canceling movies and my kid can't watch a Disney film, that's too much for me. But I also think that while we're correcting, Trump is not the barometer to decide what's correct and what's not.
Mulvaney, jump in here.
Yeah, it can be a little bit of all of the above, can it, right? It can be a little bit of a distraction and also be a little bit of the culture wars. I think what's missing is it could also be something completely unrelated to Donald Trump. Let's move away from the big screen and onto the small screen. We know that Stephen Colbert got canceled this week, and everybody said, oh, my goodness, it's because of Donald Trump. No, it's not. He's on the air until May. He got canceled because he's losing, what is it, $40 million a year. So there's another aspect here. It could be all of the above plus some other things we're not talking about.
Yep. Mulvaney, did you watch Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
I've not watched Happy Gilmore. I went to go see, when did I go see? It was 147 degrees here in the Carolinas, so I went to go see F1. It was okay.
Oh, okay, all right. I endorse.
Movie reviews with Nick.
Movie reviews with Nick. Mulvaney, hang around. Still to come, other side of the break. I think this is something that we're going to be talking about for quite some time. The president's going to be graded here, by the way, this upcoming week. The economy reacts to his tariffs, trade deals. I'm going to explain to you what you're going to expect here, at least what we're going to be seeing in the upcoming week. And the trade deals, right? The president wants them. The president's been talking about them. He's been talking about tariffs. Well, now there's a conversation of, okay, what do you do with all that money? I'm going to show you the figures, how much we're talking about. And if it comes in droves, is it coming back to you when we return?
Right.
Thank you for making News Nation America's fastest growing cable network in all of television.
Let's get after it.
The place where left and right come to be reasonable. News Nation, news for all Americans.
All right, so how about this? If all of a sudden the United States government came into a massive sum of money, what should they do with it? Well, that just might be the question the Trump administration soon has to ask itself. President Trump suggesting recently a rebate check could be the answer.
We have so much money coming in, we're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. A little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice.
All right, now he's referring there to revenues from tariffs. And the numbers here show why it is now a conversation, and I think going to be a conversation going forward. Because last month alone, the U.S. took in $26 billion, more than $26 billion in tariff revenues. But look at from the year prior, 4x more than the year before, okay? By the way, that run rate there is more than $300 billion for the upcoming year. And when you compare the amount of tariff revenues collected to other years past, look at this chart, okay? So these are the previous years. This is where we are right now, basically in the same time frame there. And that's before the August 1st deadline, which could see tariffs for other countries increase. But I wanted to look forward tonight, right? Because there was the conversation for a while. Who pays them? Who doesn't pay them? Are they good? Are they bad? All that. We've been talking about that for months, right? As Bill Maher noted, so many people got the dire predictions of economic doom, at least up until this point, wrong.
That didn't happen. Now, it could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump. Because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere. I would have thought, and I got to own it, that that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
So the reality is there's this money that's coming in. What do you do about it as that pile starts to stack up? Mick Mulvaney, I'm going to start with you because the president, and welcome back, the president's talking about rebate checks. You could call them stimulus checks. I'm guessing the former the guy who started the House Freedom Caucus isn't a fan of stimmy checks. Am I going out on a limb there?
Yeah, you say tomato, I say tomato. When you let's go down to some basic economics. When you give people money for doing nothing, okay, when you give a stimulus check, it's inflationary, period, end of story. The Republicans used to remember that. A lot of them still do. It was one of the reasons they were so firmly against a lot of the Biden policies. Inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. If you give people more money and they don't at the same time create more goods or services, the price of the goods and services that are there are going to go up, period, end of story. By the way, I count myself amongst the folks like Bill Maher who said that I thought tariffs would be inflationary by now, and they're not. I do know this. Stimulus checks are meant to be inflationary. That's what they do.
What should he do with it, Governor?
Pay down the debt. And look, we still have $2 trillion in a yearly deficit. We have $40 trillion. So you say, I mean, this is real money.
So you say pay down the debt. $320 billion is less than 1% of the national debt, 0.86%. It's 17% of our $1.9 trillion budget deficit.
And this is why the American dollar is weakening across the world as the standard reserve. This is why the most fiscally irresponsible body in the world right now is in that building in the U.S. Capitol, because they just spend and spend. But and you're going to drive inflation. You're going to drive cost issues for American families. Sending a rebate check does nothing.
If they send a rebate check, that gets precisely votes. I'm sorry, if they pay down the debt, it gets no votes, right? And that's part of the issue with that.
Yeah, I would challenge that all day long. I balanced my budget, and I got elected I was really popular.
No, I know, but I'm saying if they
wicked popular.
If they use the money to pay down the debt, I mean, that's not going to.
So every time we have a small influx of money, we're going to throw gasoline on a fire and create a massive fiscal problem here.
It's the difference between a policy solution, which the governor has, and a political solution, which is I got a check for $1,200. This is $1,200 more than I had before. That's the problem. What do politicians do usually? What the thing that voters like more? I mean, like you can. I'm with the governor that it can work, but I think generally speaking, trying to explain the long-term and even medium-term now effects of our debt and deficit problems is way more complicated than being like, here's $700, Blake. And you're like, well, I didn't have this $700 before.
We have a case study in this. We have the pandemic, and we have, where it said economic impact payment and then Trump's name, and how people remembered how they were so well off at that time just because of that. And even though experts argue you were not that much more well off than you are right now, there still is a conversation that people think they were because they received that money and felt like Trump had to do with it, even though he was against all the bills before they passed.
So what do you do with the money?
So you pay down the debt, and then you have Jerome Powell lower the interest rates, and all of a sudden our debt is looking a lot better because our interest on paying down the debt goes much lower.
Mick, that would be inflationary on top of inflationary,
No,
would it
that's not true.
Generally speaking, cutting interest rates is expansionary in the economy. If you do it at a time of declining inflation, you can get away with it. You shouldn't do it during a time of inflation. It can make things worse.
So so now I'm thinking to myself, the last time Donald Trump put tariffs into effect, it was the first term, right? And what did Joe Biden do? He kept every single tariff in the book and then added on to it. So now I'm going a couple steps down the road, which is, okay, let's just say these $300 billion, come year after year after year. Democrats now say, wait a minute, what about the care economy? What about funding this? What about funding that? Then all of a sudden you basically have a new government program, no?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what.
See, that put a smile on your face, did it not?
I mean, I think that's what we're asking Americans to pay down the debt through, what is it, Venmo or PayPal? I think we have to figure out a better solution than where we are now. I also think, contradictory to all this, Pete Hegseth just sent some money over to fix Trump Qatari jet and fix that up. And so all this money that he's getting personally for his library by suing ABC and CBS, like we talked about earlier, he can also put that towards the debt if Americans are being asked to
I still go back to the governor's point. I remember a time, I mean, I'm 49, I'm not that young, but I'm also not that old, where like both parties talked, certainly Republicans. John McCain's entire 2008 campaign was based around, we are giving a debt deficit to our grandchildren that is unsustainable. Paul Ryan got to be speaker and then got on the ticket.
Right.
Because of his we need to reform entitlements. The abandonment of it, the Democratic Party hasn't picked up the sort of mantle of that, but it's a giant
budget amendment.
Yes.
Yes. So the American people are very worried about the debt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I talk about it more than anyone at
the
this
car
at this
crash
time.
is coming. 8 years from now, it all goes bankrupt at the same time.
So here's what I think, in part, the new reality is going forward. Tee up the soundbite from the president today on baseline tariffs.
We're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business in the United States. Because you can't sit down and make 200 deals. I would say in the range of 15 to 20%.
Mick, is that the new norm?
Probably, but again, the money can't be sustainable. You can't have it both ways. You can't put a tariff on to raise money and put a tariff on in order to encourage the rebuilding of American manufacturing. That's because eventually what happens is substitution. You don't buy the stuff from overseas anymore because you don't want to pay the tariff. You buy the stuff from the U.S. One of those things is good, there's no question, but you can't have it both ways. And that's been one of my biggest difficulties with the sales job the administration's been doing on tariffs since the very beginning.
Is this the new norm now?
We're going to build things in America, and he has his tariffs. We're bringing in the money from the tariffs.
But to Mick's point, you can't say grab bag everything.
It's going to be a process, Mick. You're a smart guy, but this is working. Let's let it work its way out. We've got time.
This is so interesting coming off the conversation about the big, beautiful bill that adds trillions to the debt, but then this small thing. It's like Trump policy versus traditional fiscal conservative policy. It never blended, it never will.
It's the best example of the Republican Party of 2012 does not exist anymore. It just doesn't. I mean, it just doesn't at all.
Still here.
Governor Sununu. We got Mitt Romney, Governor Sununu.
We got two. Three.
But it just does. I mean, it's literally, with the exception of lower taxes and conservative justices, it really, everything that was at the core of that party is no longer at the core of the party.
Let me leave you with this, to Bill Maher's point and to Mick's point. I heard you sighing there about basically the policies and tariffs. What if you're wrong?
About the tariffs?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I think we're going to have an inflation problem come later this year. You're going to have an unemployment problem come later this year. Okay. You're going to have all these federal employees that are still not even on the unemployment rolls. So you're going to have it's not a recession, but you're undoubtedly going to have a softening of the economy. The president has to overcome that with an immigration bill and all these other opportunities that he has while the Democrats wallow around in fire.
We'll leave it there. It's, by the way, Josh Hawley today, Senator, a Republican senator, put out a bill today for $600 rebate checks.
Hawley 2028.
For the Democrat Party. There's your number one Democrat.
Come on, Josh.
Appreciate it. All right, other side of the break. The president touting those trade deals with the EU and the UK. I'm going to explain to you why the U.S. economy, about to get a full report card, what you will be talking about throughout the week. Elizabeth Vargas reports also coming up next here on News Nation. Henna Doba will be in to talk about the vice president's half-brother and that brutal street fight in Cincinnati that's coming up. My take plus what's trending, other side of the break. Stay with us. All right, if you're just getting back home, trying to catch up on your day, here are some of the top stories that are trending right now on thehill.com. Ghislaine Maxwell, this popped mid-afternoon. Her legal team is now pleading with the Supreme Court and the president to intervene in her criminal case. Her lawyers have officially filed before the United States Supreme Court. The president right now, he is abroad. He's in Scotland. He had one of those sort of sprawling press conferences with reporters there. Gaza, trade, and of course, Epstein among many of the topics of conversation. And then this is one to watch. He is one of the most popular Democrats in this country, at least within the Democratic Party. The Governor Roy Cooper, former governor in North Carolina, enters the Senate race there. That is going to be one of the most watched races in the years to come. To check out these stories and more, all you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen or head on over to thehill.com. All right, time for my take now. Earlier today, President Trump more than happy to tout one of his trade deals as the administration and governments all over the world race to his August 1st deadline. Bagpipes and all in Scotland for the pomp and circumstance.
The trade deal was made with UK. The Prime Minister did a great job. You know, they've been trying to make that deal for 12 years, and he got it done. It's going to be a lot of jobs for here and great for America.
Now, while the focus is on deals made and possibly deals to come, this week we will also be getting, I guess you could call it a full-body checkup on the state of the U.S. economy, because tomorrow comes the JOLTS report. That's how many jobs are available, plus consumer confidence. On Wednesday, GDP for the second quarter, which covers the first 3 months of tariffs. That is likely, by the way, to be the sideshow to Jay Powell, as the chairman of the Federal Reserve will announce whether interest rates will drop like the president wants or if they will stay the same. But that's not all. This Thursday, we also get an updated reading on how much you and I are paying for all sorts of things. Inflation. And then TGIF, the first day of August, this Friday, will bring the new jobs report and the updated unemployment rate. Add it all up. Numbers coming in throughout the week. There will be plenty of opinions, we have no doubt, throughout. But by Friday, there just might be a new narrative where the U.S. economy actually stands and in what direction we suspect it might go from there. I thank you so much for watching us tonight here on The Hill. As I mentioned, it is fantastic to be back. I'll be with you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Blake Burman. Have a good one.